I think it's working. It's working. Maybe. It looks like it's working. All right.
Hi,
someone
folks.
other than me, I think, broke the internet.
His name is Patrick Garrett.
Yeah.
Oh, darn it.
And luckily, I'm a very forgiving person, so
He's learned how to forgive himself.
no punishments. Hey, I think it's
Yay!
working.
Okay. Hi, John, Penny, Geraldine. Okay.
All right.
Excellent.
Hey, give me a little, just like a tiny little.
Oh, this way?
Just like it that way? Yeah. All right. So,
Like this?
yeah, perfect.
Okay.
All right, guys. Glad to have you back for a live feed. We had some technical difficulties. Apparently, the internet froze or something. I don't know. Probably the part of that big ice storm, maybe.
A temporary coma.
No.
It's probably been eating too many inflammatory foods.
Right.
Internet.
Internet's been eating McDonald's, and then had some brain fog. That's what I think.
Conspiracy.
All right, so tonight we're going to talk about shopping. I made the same mistake like 2 minutes ago. Shopping shrewdly.
Shrewdly. On a budget. Wait.
Eating healthy on a budget. Yeah.
It'd be good if we knew the titles to our own shows.
Yeah.
One day we will, and we'll make them without tongue twisters.
Yes. All right, and this is part of our January theme of resolution revolution. Basically, cut the BS and the gimmicks and the crap that we always fail on, and let's just deal with like sustainability, right? What can we really do for the rest of the year that doesn't ensure that we're going to fail each time, you know? So that's a big issue with what's going on is every year, they're talking about this on NPR, is that everybody makes all these resolutions and then they fail within the first, day, week, minutes, hour.
Yeah.
And, it just kind of screws with us. So part of that whole yo-yo dieting thing, we want to talk about things that are sustainable and meaningful, So today we're going to talk about shopping shrewdly. And we got to change that
That's
name.
shrewdly, not rudely.
That's a terrible name.
Our show is about being nice going into the store.
That's right. So we have all kinds of things that we'll go over, and if you guys have questions, feel free to post them. I know a lot of you guys probably have a lot of questions, especially when you go shopping, and how do we make it affordable? And there's a recent study by Harvard, but it was actually Washington School of Medicine and a lot of other places, proved out what I used to teach my students, which is eating healthy can actually be cheaper than eating unhealthy. And not only do we have the idea of, just price-wise, but the absolute cheapest healthcare is just eating real food that's least processed, So there's a really good book, and Time Magazine did this awesome feature article about what the world eats. And then it was, I think it's 80 cities that they've gone through now. And if you look, so if you go to time, if you type in time and what the world eats into Google, it'll have a slideshow for you. And you can go through, and what they did was took a week's worth of food of what people would buy, and then how much it costs. Well, no, I don't think they do it on that one. But it shows what they eat, and then you can kind of get a better idea. Now, the book went a step further. So years ago, I lectured at a health food store, and I brought the book in, and the book actually says, here's how much they pay for food, here's what they pay for kind of sick care, like managing any kind of acute or chronic condition, and what else? And here's the longevity and quality of life. And it's very obvious when you looked at what people ate, that the people that really ate the cheapest, most simple foods tend to have the least amount of healthcare problems, the highest quality of lives. And even if we translate that all the way to the blue zones and say, well, what do the healthiest, happiest, longest living populations eat? Yeah, it's that. So we want to decomplicate some of these kind of gimmicks and things that people believe. And I know when I taught anatomy and physiology, we'd have like 50 students, and I would say, who thinks eating cheaper Who thinks they can eat healthy, cheaper than eating processed crap? And how many people do you think answered, yeah, in the class?
Who thinks they can eat?
Eating healthier is cheaper.
I'm gonna say no one.
Yeah, that was really close. It was 0. Yeah. So, I believed it was true, so I just made it an assignment. And so they had to feed a family of 4 cheaper than it would cost for fast food, even the value meal in fast food. And guess what?
It worked.
It worked. They did it. They figured it out. So they couldn't eat crap, but they said, okay, so how do you feed a family of 4 cheaper than it would be fast food? And it was way cheaper. So all these people that said there was no way possible to eat healthy on a budget, they all figured it out when it was worth a grade.
Yeah. We also thought, too, this might be a good topic for this show today, like doing things on a budget, because it is post-Christmas. And a lot of us who are struggling to be healthy have bills to pay and medical bills to pay, and we thought it would just be really helpful to let you know that it is possible, and it's much more simple than you think.
Yeah. So we have some ideas. Now, I have a family of 6, so we have 4 daughters, and then me and my wife, and then Holly has a family of 1 plus 2 cats, and so she'll talk to you guys about the aspect of how do you eat, for one, super healthy, and cost effectively, and then I'll talk about how we do it for a family that's more cost effective too. So we'll have both kind of aspects. Now, if you're one of those breeders that has like 16 kids, and you're screwed.
We can't help you.
Yeah, you gotta start eating those kids, right? Gotta honor that.
Right.
So
I agree.
all right. So, will you want to start?
No, you start.
Oh, I start. That's not fair. So, I've been talking the whole time.
You have been, and we love that.
So, first things first, planning.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that over the amount of time that I have tried to make this work for me, eating healthy, that has been one of the most helpful things, is sitting down and just thinking about what you're going to buy before you buy it. Knowing what your budget is a huge one. I've had to work on that too the past year, especially just saving receipts and seeing, what it is that you spend on food. It's pretty amazing to see as you go along, as you plan, as you budget, as you find these less expensive options, how much you can really save. And so I sit down, I always have a list before I go to the store. I know which stores I'm going to and what I'm buying at those stores. I keep it simple for the most part and buy the same things every week. So I know what I think about is a given day. Like, okay, I need to shop for this week. What do I need tomorrow? What do I need throughout my day? What am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to have for snack? What am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to have? And then go from there. And then that's pretty much how I start, what I do.
Yeah. Well, forever I just go to the store and just kind of grab stuff and then just be really shocked at the register.
Yeah, I did that for
holy crap.
about
like
35
insane.
years as well.
Yeah. So then when you're on a budget, then you're just like, okay, price things out. Because it's crazy. Like, even the last few times I went to the store, it just seems like everything's $3. Like, it's just $3 for this, $3 for that, $3 for this. And somehow that adds up like crazy fast. You're like, no way that's going to add up to that much. And then it does. So,
and it's hard to keep track. It's not easy to start keeping track, but when you do, it makes such a difference.
Yeah. So planning's huge, and that's one of the things that we always tell patients, like, if you're going to go somewhere, bring your food, bring snacks, plan. And be very purposeful in what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that'll make a big difference.
So I always know when I go to the store, I almost always know I've always got breakfast covered. I don't have to think about it. I know exactly what I'm buying for breakfast. That's going to last me the whole week, maybe a little bit longer. I boil a dozen eggs. I buy some gluten-free muesli, Bob's Red Mill, and I have pretty much that and some tea for breakfast. I know breakfast is covered, and for me, that costs 70 cents.
Sweet, sassy
for that
molasses.
meal. 70 cents.
That's awesome.
Right? So you'd go to McDonald's and spend $5, $6, $7, $8 depending on what you get.
Yeah.
So that's my hurrah.
And you know, oatmeal is like crazy dirt cheap for breakfast too. And even like quinoa is cost effective if you do it in proportion.
I do quinoa also. I'll cook up a batch of quinoa, a couple of cups or whatever, in my rice cooker to make it convenient.
Yeah.
And then I have that throughout the week, and I can supplement that if I don't have time to make oatmeal. I've got quinoa in the fridge that I can supplement for my breakfast instead of the oatmeal.
So tell them what you do for breakfast, because most people know quinoa for lunch and dinner, but what about breakfast?
Why not use it as a grain for breakfast?
Why not?
Why not? Think out of the box, people.
You're like crazy, man, eating dinner for breakfast?
I'm a little bit
insane.
wild that way. I like to live dangerously.
So, what do you put in your quinoa then?
Poison.
Oh, I love Poison. The new musical group? Oh, no, that's a song by Belle Biv DeVoe.
No.
Poison.
I will. Hey, I'm pretty like crude about it.
I don't think she has a recipe.
I don't have a recipe. I
seems
cook it and
sketchy,
I eat it.
I think she just wants to use the word quinoa like she's in the cool group
No,
now.
I eat simply. I don't have a lot of time. I cook it up. I put some salt in it. I'm good with that.
That's
with
it?
the quinoa, then I'll have my egg, my boiled egg, with the quinoa with a little bit of salt, and I'm good to go.
You mix it up?
No.
You like separate?
I just have a boiled
so
egg
just a cold side?
and quinoa. Yeah.
Well, because some people like, I know Sherry, she'll put a little tiny bit of apple juice just to kind of flavor it, and then she'll put like some cinnamon, and she'll basically put nuts and stuff, raisins like you do oatmeal.
Oh
But she
yeah,
uses
I mean
quinoa.
you could throw in nuts, you could throw in cranberries.
But that's
you
not
could
what you're
throw
doing?
in. I'm hardcore.
That's
I don't have a
hardcore.
lot of time. If I'm really tired in the morning and I'm rolling out of bed, I just need to shovel some stuff in my mouth.
There you go. So, and I
Might as well make it good stuff.
see, and
That's cheap.
I think I usually just do fruit. I like have some cuties, like a couple cuties that I met at the club. No, I'm just kidding. Couple cuties, oranges, and then and you can get the organic ones. But really, if they don't have any crap on them, like it's just a wax, then that's fine. And like a banana and maybe an apple, organic apple.
Yeah.
And so I like keep it crazy simple, and I like it because I can just eat it in the car. I can eat it there. I can eat it in the office. Yeah.
What I like
And I don't have
about
to make anything.
right, yeah. What I like about the egg thing for me is I feel like I don't last very long on like a piece of fruit. And so I like having eggs or nuts as just a little bit more dense
Yeah.
protein.
No, that's better. That's better.
To keep my energy lasting a little bit longer. But you can get all those things, once again, you can get all those things cheaply as long as you're making it yourself. Grab a handful of nuts. It's simple.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I was trying to think a little bit ago when you were talking about making a list. You know, always keep a list. Always keep a list. One of my patients told me about an app, and if you guys know of it, just post it if you would in the feed. But it's a web-based one, and you can put your list of groceries on there, and then basically every week you can just use that same list. But if your spouse uses that same list, or the kids, and they go to the store and they buy it, it marks it off.
I've heard about that.
Oh, it's awesome. I thought I had it on my phone, but I don't know if that's true or not. But they love it. Like the people that use it, they just absolutely love it because it's nice because you don't have to sit there and write everything, and everybody knows the same thing. Because I can't tell you how many times I went to the store and I bought stuff and it was duplicate.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what the current list was.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that's my breakfast, and then for lunch, it's usually like something simple. Not lunch. A snack is usually something simple, and I'm always carrying a bag around. I think we talked about it last time. I carry a bag around with my snacks, so I always keep a bag of nuts on hand or peanut butter, and then some fruit. Or my other go-to will be like hummus and chopped up veggies.
Oh yeah.
So
really good.
it's just easy to grab. You can just have it sitting on your desk somewhere. grab it and go as needed. And if you're doing like a banana and some nuts, that's a whole $1.20 I figured today.
Yeah.
So yeah. So far I haven't even spent $2 with breakfast and snack.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know, like I love taking like a little cup of nuts, and then I take a banana and I mush it in the nuts, and then I eat it.
Yeah, that's cool.
See, I don't know if other people do that, but it's awesome.
He thinks I'm wild.
It's like a nutty banana.
So
I think it's a thing.
Yeah.
So snacks, that's a good part too. All right. So one of the things that we do a lot of times is we have patients bring in like food all the time and supplements and ask questions like, is this healthy, not healthy? And you would not believe how much money, or maybe you do, that patients spend on junk food that's from the health food store. So it's not bad, but it's just processed crap that's not as bad as the regular store. And so for snacks, they might pay $1.50 for a snack versus if they just ate an apple, they would fill them up even more. They might, like, I know when I did Lar bars, I had those for a while at the other office. And, I could eat like 2 or 3 of those. Like, they did not fill me up as a snack.
Right.
And so then it's just like, well, that's $3.50, and I could have just had an apple and an orange, or an apple and a banana, or some oatmeal, or something like that.
You have to be okay with having a piece of fruit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't ever crave apples, but when I do buy them and make myself eat them, I'm like, hey, that was really tasty. And I feel amazing after I have my apple. Like, my blood sugar's good. I'm a little bit cheerier.
Yeah.
My energy lasts a little bit longer. And so you have to be okay with letting go of some of all the desserty type processed.
And I know some people, like, if they eat fruit, they feel like it really shouldn't, it should be low glycemic anyways, but, they feel like they get hungrier or peckish. But that's okay. Just eat an apple now, and then an hour later eat an orange, and then eat a banana half an hour later. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with grazing at all, as long as you're eating real healthy food. And it's way more cost effective that way.
Right. If I had the other stuff, I'll eat it all. Just like you said, you'd eat 3 bars. I would eat the entire bag of chips,
right,
pretzels, whatever it is. And that's not cost effective either, in addition to making you feel like crap.
No, that junk food at the health food store is crazy expensive. So that should be the rarity thing, not the common thing. But, on snacks, so I priced some things out. So a banana is about, like organic banana is probably about 59 cents. Honeydew, 65 cents. A nectarine, 2 plums, an apple, large orange, 50 cents. Oatmeal is like 20 cents a serving. Bell pepper, like a bell pepper you can eat just like an apple. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
In fact, in South America, there's like these bell peppers that grow from the trees. That's where cashews come from. But they call that bell pepper looking thing an apple, even though it's hollow, just like bell pepper. So I like that. It feels weird eating it like an apple, but it's cheap and easy. And like I can get that at the gas station if I'm like really starving. Like Quick Shop has those. So
they have peppers?
Yeah, I'm just sometimes. Oh. Yeah, they had and those little ones too. Our girls love those.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a little different tri or quad colored peppers. Now, nuts were the most expensive. Nuts, you probably get the most calories per serving. They're still nutrient dense, really get healthy fats, great for the brain, great for the mood. 1 handful of cashews is just as effective as 1 antidepressant, according to research, for making you feel better. So, you have to eat nuts so you don't go nuts. But nuts are also like 800 or 750 calories for a cup of cashews. So they can be really high calorie. So you want to kind of like maybe do less of those versus the other stuff.
I feel most satisfied having nuts with something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No inappropriate comment with that? All right. And baby carrots. Now, again, baby carrots are not really baby carrots. I watched the delivery, and the babies come out full grown. There's no baby carrots. So what they do is they take other carrots and they cut them down and they shave them down into smaller carrots. So baby carrots are regular sized carrots, or chunks of regular sized carrots. which seems like there'd be a lot of waste product with that. But those are only like 40 cents. Again, great with hummus. All this stuff's great with hummus. Hard-boiled eggs, that's like dirt cheap, very, very dirt cheap when it comes to healthy and cheap eating.
Yeah, so easy to prepare too. Like,
so
there's nothing to it.
And we started doing that with our family. Is we'd have a big X on the package, but the hard-boiled eggs, basically, that would allow the girls to go get a snack, and then something a little different. They like that. Tofu is a pretty good snack, but it depends on your kids. Like, my girls will eat tofu plain. Like, that's crazy. And it needs to be organic. But I can do that, but they do that. So, and it's crazy cheap. And then grapes were 72% or 72 cents. They were on the higher side. And then pumpkin seeds were a little bit higher too. So out of all those kind of snacks, your seed and nut mixes are going to be the most expensive. So just kind of parse those out with the others, the fruits and vegetables, and it's crazy cost effective versus chips or a soda or a candy bar. Like candy bars are like $1.50 now.
Yeah, and you're going to need a lot more candy bar. It just feeds into that addictive thing. You're going to need a lot more of the icky food than you will of the good food.
Yeah.
So you're going to save money by making that choice. And with the nuts and things too, like, it's a handful. With the servings, it's a handful, right?
Right. So basically, kid versus mom or dad, that handful is kind of where your goal is with that. So start with that. And, something like nuts and seeds, it's sometimes about a quarter of a handful, or a quarter of a cup. So it would just be a few. But, I mean, I'd probably go a little bit crazier on nuts than most people, or probably like everybody does. Yeah. Was it our friend bought 7 pounds of peanuts, and I was like, what does 7 pounds look like? It was this massive amount. So she's got
I've heard peanuts aren't considered a nut. I've heard they're a legume.
They're legumes, yeah. But cashews are nuts.
What are they?
I don't know. They grow on the bottom of an apple in the tree.
They grow on the bottom of an apple?
Yeah. They call it an apple, but it looks like a green pepper. It gets way more confusing. Yeah? You ever seen one? You guys have to Google, where do cashews come from, and it'll blow your mind, because
and then tell us, because we don't know.
I never knew that. No, I know. You tripping?
It grows on the bottom of an apple.
They grow on the bottom of a green or red pepper looking thing that they call an apple.
Okay.
And the cashew's poisonous. It grows on the bottom. It looks like a grub worm. And it's poisonous until they roast it. That's why you've never found shelled cashews.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Are nuts, so they must...
What?
I guess they're supposed to come in a shell then. Is that the definition of a nut?
I don't know.
Anyway, with peanuts, the reason I brought up peanuts was because a lot of people have peanut allergies, and they're not really a nut, and there's some people that avoid them. I've also heard they're associated with mold.
Yeah, the alpha toxin stuff, but it makes you stronger. So, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, if you're allergic...
Dr. G says,
peanuts,
eat mold.
Eat mold, get strong.
He doesn't really say
they were... Like blue cheese? People eat that stuff?
Yeah, that's true. We do eat a lot of mold. Come to think of it.
Yeah, see?
Okay.
So what about coupons and down? Do you do those?
I'm bad with coupons, but I know there's
coupons.
A lot of really amazing apps, and I know people who do a lot with them. I had a friend who saved $1,200 in a year.
What?
Just with coupons.
That's crazy.
So if you have the time and the energy and you want to organize that and do that for yourself, it's helpful. And there's just a lot of really cool, like I said, apps and emails and online opportunities.
I don't know if it's a guy thing, but I'd literally rather pay more than use a coupon. Like, I hate using a coupon.
Why?
I don't know, but I don't think I've ever used a coupon in my entire life.
If it's convenient, then I'm all for it. But if it's inconvenient, I just don't think about it.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Like, okay, if you had a coupon on your phone that was like 50% off this purchase.
No, I wouldn't do it.
What?
I wouldn't do it. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. So don't take my advice on that part. Holly's got it.
Coupons do work. They do work if you can keep up with them.
Yeah. What about bargains? I have some ideas on bargains.
I'm always looking for bargains, and I try to take on whatever bargain I come across. Even if maybe I don't need that particular thing, if it's something I can keep around for a while, I could put in the freezer. It's not going to spoil. There's no reason to buy it on sale at that time because the sales are always changing.
Right. So, I had a patient that liked to buy organic raspberries, and then they would be like, I don't know, like $4 or something. They were crazy expensive. But when they were about to go out, they would be like, I think it was 4 for $5, and so it was like $1.25 each, or something like that. And that's awesome, right? Be $1.20 actually. So she would actually buy just a massive amount of them, like 20 or 30 of them, and put them in her freezer, and just put them in a bag and put them in the freezer. Because again, when are you not going to need raspberries for like your smoothies and shakes and that kind of stuff? So
yeah, I'm just recently huge on the freezer for that.
Yeah,
like. That's so great.
And my greens, when they start to go, I might buy too many greens, and then it's like, crap, now they're going bad. Well, I freeze those. So always chop up your fruits, vegetables. Don't let anything go bad. Just chop them up and put them in the freezer. In a baggie? Yeah. In a baggie. Or a glass jar or something. But yeah. Okay. And that's awesome. But also, I found out they have pretty good deals if you think that way. So at like Natural Grocers, Green Acres, those kind of places, they have their little, and even Dillon's, they'll have their fruit and vegetable combinations in bags that are about to go bad. Mm-hmm. And so you could actually just buy those for like $1 for like 4 or 5 things. And then you buy those, chop them up, and freeze them.
See, I'm like you with that. Like, you won't use coupons, but I see that bag and I'm like, ew, gross. And I walk by it.
No, you gotta chop them up.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah. And like meat, when it goes past, that's fine. Just, no, I couldn't do that. My wife bought tenderloin or something at this Meridian Market in Newton. And that's a great place to go for huge discounts. You know, I think it's really good. Especially for buying like organic and healthy stuff. It's like crazy dirt cheap. But it's not always very consistent, but it's got lots of good deals. But she bought meat from there once, and she's like, it's just barely expired or something, or close to expiration. And all I could do was just stare at that meat, and I just cannot eat it. But I know it's fine, so you're fine. You're
getting some extra bioorganisms there.
I know. It's just, like, once I found out yogurt was a living thing back when I was in college, I would just stare at it, and I was just like, I just can't eat it.
Your beard is a living thing.
I know. There's more bacteria in my beard than a toilet. But it's good bacteria.
What? That's because he sticks his beard in the toilet?
Well, if you gotta get a drink, right? It's a Texas water fountain. That's what a bidet is a Texas water fountain.
Did you do that experiment yourself? That is so gross.
We had a friend when we were in chemistry that brought water back from Arkansas, from a spring. And so he's just like, it's the best stuff, it's the best stuff. And he always had like all this water in jugs in the back of his truck from the spring. And it didn't look clear. And so then when we were in chemistry, we were testing for bacteria and stuff. And then, doing the slides. And so we got a swab and went to the toilet in the bathroom and then pretended that was the swab that we took from his water. But he didn't care.
He was all good.
It had all that bacteria. He's like, it's probably okay. So.
All right. So we did coupons. We did look for bargains.
More bargain. Another bargain too is using dried beans and soaking them instead of like canned. So canned beans you get, like if you use Simply Organic, something like that, or Wild Oats brand. No crap in those, right? But it's like $1 a can. So that's crazy cheap. No, that's more expensive than the crappy stuff, but it's $1. But if you use dried beans, it is astronomically cheaper. It's like cents on the dollar, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of actually being more prepared.
You're saving yourself from the chemicals from cans.
Right. Yeah, the BPA, which turns the guys into girls and girls into horrible girls. Monsters.
Right. It turns everybody into girls?
Oh, yeah, because it's estrogen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's endometriosis and fibroids.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, but it's girl problems. Men are having breast cancer now.
Yeah.
Breast cancer.
I was going to say, too, on that beans thing, like, what has become super popular within the last 10 years is hummus.
Hummus, that's what I was
There's
thinking.
some really great hummus recipes. I have an amazing Lebanese cookbook that has the best hummus recipe, and it's not horrible or horribly hard to make. So make your own hummus. Save yourself a bunch.
So you have a Lebanese cookbook?
Yeah.
I got a transgender cookbook, so there.
I try not to be ethnocentric.
That's too big a word.
Yeah.
So the hummus you can make out of like any bean. Cannelloni.
Oh, I didn't think about
chickpea.
that.
Although the Arabic word for chickpea is
Hummus.
hummus. It's hummus.
I was going to say garbanzo.
So if you
also garbanzo. I really do think
I think garbanzo.
Hummus is made from chickpeas, but you could just grind up anything.
Yeah,
that you wanted.
garbanzo hummus is way better than chickpea hummus. You think?
Folks, please help me out here. Sometimes I just need some help.
So, I know.
And There's
so
dead
you
air.
can use the same recipe. It's dirt cheap to make your own hummus. Dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And the best bean you could ever buy is lentils, because dried lentils have 80% the folate, and folate is what makes your brain work. It makes that phosphatidylcholine and phosphatidylserine, which it's memory, brain function, alertness, all that stuff. Helps lower homocysteine, helps make more through glutathione, through B6 too.
Yeah.
And so great stuff, and it's cheap. And lentils are one of the few beans that you can buy dry, and by the time it's cooked, it's soft.
Yeah, beans are also great in terms of saving money. If you want to cut back on your meat a little bit, which tends to be one of the more expensive things.
Yes.
Supplement with some beans. You know, you've got beans for the hummus. You've got beans for soups and stews. You can boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
That's terrible.
Like, does anybody get that? If you get that, let me know. Type it in.
No, that's terrible.
Mash them, stick them in a stew. Yeah.
I don't know what that's from, but I've heard it before.
It's from a
Is it Todd
I'm going to give you
Todd Sweeney.
I'm going to give you a hint. It's from a trilogy. A trilogy, folks. If you get that answer, we might just allow you to come to on the shopping tour.
It's either Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or Star Wars or Star Trek.
Okay. So beans. Beans are great.
Someone's got to post that, because I don't know.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
That's, I think, from the 80s or something.
No. Somebody's got to get it. Okay.
So,
you know what we need to talk about?
What?
Aldi's. We haven't talked about Aldi's.
Aldi's?
We didn't talk about Aldi's last week.
We didn't?
We need to talk about Aldi's.
Oh, because we did the grocery stores last week. Aldi's didn't make the cut. They called and we said, look, we'll talk about Aldi's this time. So,
right.
Sorry, Mr. Aldi.
Right.
That
is not true.
Hey, he's Trader Joe's brother.
Aldi's is now carrying, I have not been, but I need to go. We need to take a tour of Aldi's. Aldi's now has organic fruits and vegetables. They have gluten-free products and natural products.
What about the chemicals? Did you hear about that?
I haven't been there to see it yet, but I've heard about it.
I saw it on Facebook.
You saw it on Facebook?
It's got to be real. It's on Facebook.
Go check out Aldi's and tell us what's going on there.
So they said on Facebook they are purging all the toxic chemicals from their preservatives and colors from their food. Just like, it's a German company, right? And just like in Germany, they don't use those chemicals like we do. So all they're going to do is germicize our food. That doesn't sound right. Germanize? Germanize? Europeanize?
Something.
Non-Americanize our food.
Right.
So, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Check this out. Hold on. Tim, you're coming on the shopping tour, Tim.
Lord of the Rings.
Tim got it. It's not actually a reference to beans. It's a reference to potatoes. Potatoes.
Oh. Lord of the Rings, my favorite part was where Harry Potter fought those goblins. That was the best part of Lord of the Rings.
Don't ever talk to him about the Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. Okay. Moving on. Are we moving on?
Yeah. So Aldi's. Is it Aldi's or Aldi's?
Aldi's. Audi is a car.
I know.
Okay.
All right. So what about seasonal produce? So I came across that over and over. That's not something I've really thought about for saving money.
I thought about it health-wise, buying food seasonally,
crazy.
But it makes sense that that particular fruit or vegetable is going to be cheaper when it's in season.
Yeah.
So buy seasonal, whatever that means. Then you got to figure out what seasonal is.
Ooh, what's seasonal?
We know apples come in the fall.
Yeah, it's hard because it's a global
summer
market.
squash. We know summer.
There's
squash.
winter squash too.
Ooh, winter squash.
The squashes are easy to buy seasonally because they tell you the names.
Yeah, or if you're a gardener, you're gonna know.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are probably in the summer, but tomatoes are kind of always around.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to garden with our neighbor, and that was a really good way to do it. To get lots of food cheap, but you had to work a lot.
Yeah.
And it gets hot. Pulling all those weeds out and stuff.
Yeah.
So, gardening's good, but if you do container gardening, that's actually a very simple way to get as many vegetables and fruits as you want with the least amount of work. And they have these potato boxes that you can build, and basically you can build, I think it's like, if you look at like square yard gardening, it doesn't sound right, but I think it's called square yard gardening.
Lasagna gardening?
No, it's dang it. I think that's right. So they also have these boxes that you can build or you can buy that you can have up to 100 potatoes in this little square box, and you just take each layer down and get your potatoes out.
That's cool.
Yeah, you don't have to dig them out. Like
They've got some wall herb gardens I've been seeing too on Facebook.
That's awesome, yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And you can grow herbs inside during the winter.
Yeah.
So in my office, if you guys remember my old one, I had herbs in the window all the time, and my kids would come over and just kind of eat the herbs. But I'd cut them off and dry them, and that was great.
Yeah. Can I throw in another single person tip?
Single people.
So, and not even single people. Like my brother and my sister and brother-in-law do this too. Like they'll go in, and this is a meat as an example. If you're eating meat, they'll go in with another family on a whole cow or a half a cow or a half a pig or whatever it is. They'll go in together on it.
Yeah.
And they can and it's more cost effective. He will also even go and slaughter with the family.
Oh, really?
And I think he saves a bit like from that as well. But that's not the only thing you could do as a group.
Seems a bit like a serial killer.
If that's a little too scary for you, or you're a vegan or vegetarian, you could also go in together with somebody on a Costco membership or a Sam's Club membership or whatever. Things that are more expensive, go in together on. Yeah. Just some thoughts.
No, that's a good idea. We had a friend that would he'd buy a calf, and then let it run around his field, and then he split it with like 3 or 4 people. Yeah. That's pretty good. Just get the best parts and give them all the junk parts. You're all like marking up their parts.
I want this one, you sharpieing the...
Oh, and then price per ounce. But also think about this. Think about price per nutrient. So that's something they don't ever talk about, but that's really it. Is like buying that darkest, richest colors, but knowing that's an investment.
How do you know what price per nutrient is?
Well, so, people will buy, like, candy. Like, just like that movie Food Inc., she's buying 2 pairs for $1.
Okay.
And the mom's like, no, you can get a whole 2 liter for $1. And so you're getting way more for that $1.
It seems like more.
But you're not getting the nutrition.
Okay.
Yeah, so something like that.
So you mean it's worth it to pay a little bit more for the nutrition?
Well, just to buy real stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's just like, well, instead of eating real food, what if we do this and we give you a bunch of crap and charge you $0.10 less,
Yeah.
Well, that's not real. It's not going to help you at all.
Right.
Yeah. But you were talking to me earlier about the price per ounce, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I saw that tip online today, just pricing per ounce, because you don't always know, like, the packaging is deceiving.
Yes.
So looking at the price per ounce and comparing that versus just the price itself, and that's always on the tag. You can find that on the tag. I don't know if we have a picture of it somewhere, but it'll say somewhere on the tag what the price per ounce is of what you're buying.
Yeah.
And that's also
Did you learn that from
another tip.
buyfoodlikeyouBuycocaine.com?
Yeah, I'm always on that site.
Can I get a 1/10 of oats?
Sad. A dime. I need a dime bag.
I need a dime bag of raisins. So is that $10 or 10 cents?
Moving on. Let's. Okay. Also, stay away from the central aisles of the grocery store.
Yes.
Central aisles. That's where the evil is. Except for the milk. The milk's on the outside. But processed everything on the inside.
Yeah, so if you look at a store that's a square, the outside usually is real actual food. It doesn't mean healthy, but it's real actual food. And everything in the middle, there's like 40,000 different products that a store will typically have, and about 40,000 of them, with the exception of the real stuff, are all made from the same basic ingredients, and they're just textured and flavored to look and taste like different things. That was mind blowing the first time I heard that. And that's what I told myself the other day. It blew my mind.
It's pretty much just a big centralized mountain of wheat.
Yeah, it's just wheat, dairy, preservatives, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And corn. Don't forget the good old inflammatory corn. What about, tell me about limit your experiments. So we were talking about that.
Limiting your experiments. So, like a new recipe or trying to try something new and different, so you're going to spend a little extra on that because it looks really cool. And hey, it's the one experiment I'm doing this time I go to the grocery store. Limiting those. Is
that like making your own turducken?
I have no idea what that is.
Are you serious?
I don't know what turducken is. Now I just said it, they're laughing even harder.
I saw that on National Lampoon's Bag Boy, and I laughed so hard because they said it's a turducken is a chicken inside of a duck inside of a turkey, right? And I laughed so hard because I thought that was a made-up thing, but it's real.
What?
It's real.
That's weird.
And I bought a turducken, so I was so excited that they had them at Dillon's. Ugh, the worst thing I've ever tasted. It was so gross.
Rachel's asking, is organic corn okay?
Well, is organic inflammation good? No. So, corn is highly inflammatory. Most people...
Even if it's organic?
So, I mean, eat some corn once in a while that's organic. That's okay. But it's just... all the processed crap. If you don't eat processed crap and you eat corn once in a while, that's fine. Yeah. So, but if you do, it's organic, just like the soybeans. You want organic edamame or tofu. Yeah. Who said that? Rachel?
She was asking. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's okay. Especially if you eat an overall healthy diet. It's that most people just eat everything from corn. They have lots of inflammation, and then they eat more corn.
Yeah.
And there was a very interesting thing online where this dude took how much corn are you eating in the corn cob? And so he took that small corn cob that's chopped, and that's like a handful. That's a cup of corn. And I thought, that's a lot of corn. I didn't realize that. And then he did a whole one, and that was like a whole plate full of corn. Mm. And so then I was thinking, I just ate like 3 plates of corn the other day. Like that's crazy.
So yeah, limiting your experiments just means, maybe waiting a week to try that new recipe.
Yeah.
Like creating your habit, creating the ways in which the things that you know that you can buy that make it easy and convenient, that are whole foods, not processed, and then doing those spacing those food experiments out.
So in Germany, they had this store, and basically there's no boxes, no bags, no nothing. You bring your own containers, and everything's in bulk. Have you seen that? It's an experimental store. And so that's one of the things, too. In America, we have some of those options to buy in bulk. And now, like I noticed that even Dillon's has these big barrels full of stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the stuff on the bottom of the barrels, but...
No.
What do you think of that? Do you do that for you?
I have bought some bulk, but sometimes when I look at the price per pound, I haven't found that it's always that much less expensive.
Yeah. And it's more like exposed to air too, and so I don't know. I think there's some things that'll be okay. Like you wouldn't want to buy flaxseed bulk, I don't think, or chia because it's more likely to be oxidized. But oats would probably be okay.
Yeah, or nuts or
yeah.
Yeah.
And nuts have a little chance to be oxidized, but it depends on how much you're eating and all that.
Yeah. And maybe as we go forward, we'll have more options bulk-wise. I just don't think we have a lot of options bulk-wise here.
No. And, what about, so organic, usually people ask questions about, like, do I need to buy everything organic? And that's kind of one of the misconceptions of when you think of, like, eating healthy costs more. Yeah, if you buy health food store processed stuff, then, yeah, that's very expensive. If you buy a lot of organic, it can be expensive, but it also can be cheaper if you watch the prices. But when you are on a budget, you got to say, well, where do I want to really spend my money? And so that's where, like, the dirty... You got that one? Yeah, there. So every year, the Environmental Working Group produces a list, and it's based off the USDA, called the Dirty Dozen. And this is probably backwards for you guys. And it'll have a list of the 12 most toxic things and the clean 15 things. So when you then think about budget, well, I'm not going to invest maybe organic in the clean 15 because they're the least toxic. There's still a little bit of stuff there, but, wash it with some vinegar and water and it should be okay. Whereas on the Dirty Dozen, those are things where it's really actually a very good investment to buy organic.
Yeah.
So some of those, this year, I think before, like the last few years, I think apples were always number one. So apples have 200 pesticides sprayed on them, and then by the time you get to the store, the USDA says there's about 64 of those chemicals left on that fruit. So, like, it's the worst of the worst. So never, ever, 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 ever as much as you possibly can buy a non-organic apple. It is a really good investment to buy the organic. And sometimes, like, for a while, Walmart didn't have organic apples, so I had to go to Dillon's to get the organic apples, but then I'm not finding them at Dillon's and Newton, so then I have to go to Walmart to get them. It's the whole thing. But now Walmart has Gala.
You can pick a different fruit.
Fuji.
You can't find it.
No, it only has to be apples. You have to eat apples.
I was also going to say, and this might be controversial, and I don't know if he'll agree with me, but if you're just starting out eating whole foods, and you don't know what you're doing, and you don't have the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen with you when you go to the store, isn't it still going to be better to buy an apple, whether it's organic or not, versus 3 candy bars? Yes. It's the lesser of the evils still.
So,
right?
Yeah, one of the 9 tenets of the China study was whatever's inside is what's going to cure the outside. And so, for the most part, that's true. Like, there are times where, push comes to shove, it's better to eat an apple with pesticides than it is to eat a pesticide
a bag of corn chips
or something like that.
And 2 donuts.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right on that.
So I keep thinking about that a lot because I think when I'm going to the store and I don't know what to pick, it's what is the lesser of the two evils? Right. What is the lesser of the two evils?
And that's that whole thing of progress over perfection. So what's better? What can you do better than what's best and then what's optimal? But as long as you're going better than what you're doing now, you're in the right direction.
Yeah.
So this was interesting. So we have Dirty Dozen is strawberries this year, apples, nectarines, peaches. Nectarines, we buy nectarines. Our neighbor kid had no idea what that thing was. He's like, "Is this a peach?" I said, "No, it's a nectarine." He goes, "An apricot?" I said, "No, it's a nectarine." He goes, "Like a peach?" Like, he's just nothing.
You know
there.
what though? That's probably not far off because there are so many people who, from the time they were born, were just eating processed food and not whole foods. There probably literally are some people who don't really know.
Yeah. No, they did this on, they did a couple experiments online that I saw where they were asking kids, like, what this piece of fruit was, and they didn't know. It's just weird. And they said the average, the average amount of vegetable that kids eat now is potato chips and french fries. And the average fruit is tomatoes in the form of ketchup. And not a whole lot else. I mean, most Americans now are getting an average of one serving of fruit or vegetable a day. One.
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
That's crazy. So then you have celery, grapes. So we always buy organic celery. And then grapes, I just hate not buying organic grapes because then I'm just like freaking out about it. So cherries, spinach. Spinach was an interesting one to me. Bell peppers, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. And actually, cherry tomatoes are the healthiest of all the tomatoes and more nutrient dense because that's the real size of tomato. And then they kept hybridizing them to where they grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they make those beef tomatoes. So beef tomatoes, even though they look big and dark, and they're not as nutrient dense as a cherry tomato.
I do think the ugly tomatoes are delicious. I don't know if they still call them that anymore, but... Yeah. They're really good. They're big, but they're good.
The ugly ones?
They're called ugly ripes.
Oh, that's a real name?
Yeah.
Well, I just thought you liked ugly tomatoes in general.
Now there's a big controversy over them because they didn't look pretty. But
and then, lastly on that list, this is number 13, kale. And so that's kind of disappointing. So make sure that kale is organic. But kale is like an easy thing to grow. Just like chard. I mean, they're really, really easy to grow.
Natural Grocers has a really amazing selection of fruits and vegetables. And they spray them with filtered water.
Filtered water. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of questions. Dovey says, would it be a good idea to invest in grass-fed meat over grain-fed?
Yes. So the whole idea is since hey Dovey, by the way. She's my little sister. So in the last 50 years, we tend to eat 8 times more beef than we did back then. And so the idea was meat was flavoring the food, flavoring the sauces. Meat was more of a condiment because meat was very, very expensive because it takes a lot of resources to grow meat. So then we fed meat corn, and then corn was subsidized by the government, so it was dirt cheap to feed cows, and then meat became dirt cheap, and then we ate 8 times more meat. And the meat that we eat, since it eats corn, is highly inflammatory, full of omega-6s. We eat those, we absorb those fatty acids, and then it makes us highly inflammatory. And so the average American is 40 times more inflammatory than anti-inflammatory when it comes to omega-3 versus 6. So the grass-fed, grass-finished meat really makes a big difference for that. And so people that have joint pain, knee pains, are going to have to get their hip replaced. A lot of times they can change that meat and get rid of that constant overwhelming inflammation, and you can see them improve greatly. Yeah. We see patients all the time that were like, I got to get surgery, and then suddenly they're just like, oh, well, which knee was it? So now the other thing, though, the caveat is grass-fed is going to... It can still go to the feedlot for the last 6 months and get antibiotics and corn, whereas grass-fed, grass-finished is only grass, no antibiotics.
And you're going to pay a little bit more for that, But if you are eating meat, like we're talking about reducing our meat consumption in general, if you've already reduced some and you're going to eat meat, it might be worth it to spend a little bit more.
Right. So eat better meat and eat a hell of a lot less of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can find at the farmer's market, you can find local farmers around that are selling it for less than what you might find in the grocery store. And occasionally they have good prices, sales and stuff on it at the stores too.
Yeah.
But the grass-fed, grass-finished, I don't know that you can find that just everywhere. I know natural grocers and...
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you got to ask. Sometimes they don't label it. Like they'll say grass-fed, but at Walmart and Dillon's they have at least at Dillon's they have 100% grass-fed.
Oh, really?
No antibiotics.
At Dillon's?
Yeah. And same with buffalo. Buffalo shouldn't have any of that crap in it. So, like we'll buy buffalo. But even for a family of 6, we get that pound, and we make that little tiny hamburgers or something like that. Or because a slider is a real size for a hamburger. That's an adult hamburger. 1950 was a kitty burger, right? So you can make that meat spread out quite a bit.
Yoder Meats, a local meat butcher here in town, actually from Yoder, but they have a store or two here. They're pretty good too about explaining exactly where their meat has come from.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So.
And the same thing with chickens. If you buy organic or free range chickens, basically you eat a lot less of that chicken. But if you crock pot those bones at the end, you can also make your own bone broth, and that's soup for the next day. And so you add some vegetables to that, and so you get like twice the benefit from that chicken.
Well, and that was one of our tips too, was repurposing your leftovers.
Yeah.
So the broth stews, the soups and stews are really good option for that.
Did you have leftovers on Fridays when you were a kid? There's always leftovers.
Seems like we did have a leftovers night for sure.
Yeah.
Probably more than one. Yeah.
There was a family that his dad had Alzheimer's and I took care of him. And he said back in his dad's day, I think it was his dad's sister, so his aunt, would just take all the leftovers and just like put them all together and like make a stew. And it didn't matter what they had, like it all just went in there, and it was like just gross. He would talk about what they put in. It was just like if lasagna was left over.
Ours turned into goulash.
Yeah, see, yeah, I hated goulash. Hated it.
So yeah, no, that was a couple of our tips.
You had another question?
Just more tips: cooking large batches of food, freezing them, buying meat in larger quantities, prepping it and freezing it. They had invest in a food saver or vacuum sealer.
I thought you were talking about these people.
Oh, no. I was going through our tips.
Hey, those are just same as we were recommending.
No.
That's awesome.
No, by the way, we probably need to start talking about our our takeaways, but what else do we have on here?
Yeah, so I had soup too. Soup is the way you always make food dirt cheap and last a long, long time. Soup, beans, black and brown rice, that's where you really have your cheapest, absolute, most nutritious meals. So, and soups are great because you can you can freeze those and then you can make them later. I know a lot of times we had patients that would use crock pots, these little tiny crock pots, and then they would freeze whatever they wanted and then put that in there and let it cook, and then by the time it was lunchtime at work or school...
That's a good idea.
They would have it.
Yeah, this is invest in a slow...
It was my idea.
Invest in a slow cooker if you haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like a little lady that takes a long time to cook. A slow cooker. No. All right. And with millennials, that could be a man now. So open season.
Right.
Everybody's supposed to do their job.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of those.
And then what about co-ops? Do you ever do co-op?
Co-ops? What?
You know, that's like old school from the 70s. Mm-mm. So they still have co-ops where I guess everybody goes together and... No?
Tell us what that is. Do you know what a co-op
is? Where they co-op.
Do you know what a co-op is? They do have a community garden at a Beautiful Day Cafe.
That's a co-op.
Is it?
No, I don't think so.
Do we need to look up what co-op is, people?
Does anybody know what a co-op is?
You come
I
to
think
us for the information.
I think it's
That's what we're here for.
We're all part of this, right?
Cooperating.
We are a co-op. No, so okay, a co-op is a place
I'm looking it up.
where people. No, don't look it up. This is truth. Where people, usually hippies, can buy bulk stuff from local farms. That's a co-op.
That's what we talked about earlier. Like
Yeah.
with the meat.
Right. That's a co-op. That's a great example of a co-op. If anybody has a better
definition?
a co-op. Because I have never been to a co-op, and I think there's one in Newton, but I'm not sure because people talk about it.
So Debbie's saying there is one in Lawrence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's a co-op? Is what I said?
Fill us in on that.
Yes. I did not get my degree in co-opology.
Right.
I minored in co-opology.
And then we're sorry to you, self-proclaimed hippies. We did not mean to offend by using that term in a derogatory manner.
Yes.
Okay.
What about community gardens?
Community gardens. Beautiful Day Cafe has one here in Wichita. I don't know if anyone else does.
Well, like in Newton, we have a neighborhood garden.
Rachel says, yes, a lot of farmers at farmers markets do co-ops you can sign up for.
I told you. What's the other thing? They have like CSAs where you can like sign up for a certain amount of food from a healthy farm. And so like they divide out their chickens for everybody that's bought the CSAs, or it's kind of like a co-op, I think.
Okay.
See, this is where Sherry always knows that stuff. And then ethnic stores. Now, white people are ethnic, right? No, we're like bland.
We'll have another show on defining ethnic.
Ethnic.
But what we mean is, let's say...
Well, I'm not touching this now. This seems sketchy.
Latin or Hispanic
stores. Thai Bin in Wichita, I love going there because it's an Asian store. Used to be a Joann's Fabric, so then now everybody knows where it is for some reason. But that's really great because you can buy like brown rice pasta, you can buy black rice and mung bean and shiitake noodles and all these kind of things. Lots of herbs, dirt cheap. And it's way, way, way cheaper than a health food store and way, way, way cheaper than the grocery store because it's just stuff that people use all the time. So, like even today, I was talking to somebody, that you can buy like a $6 thing of turmeric, or you can buy a brick of turmeric at Thai Bin for like $1.75.
That's great.
Yeah. And then, can I make one joke? Then you can buy that brick of turmeric and you can start cutting it up and selling it to your friends. And you become a
dealer. Turmeric
dealer with intent to distribute.
That's a good kind of dealer.
Yeah.
Speaking of groceries around town, N&J Restaurant has a little Mediterranean grocery store that's connected to it.
Yeah. They have rose water there.
There used to be an Indian. There used to be a place. I'm not sure if it's still open anymore. Over on 21st and Oliver. I'm not sure if they're still open, but some Indian Middle Eastern grocery there. But anyway, you could search those out.
And you get spices that are dirt cheap too.
Yeah.
Which is great. Or like we have Hispanic stores that are pretty cool, but again, dirt cheap prices on a lot of their stuff.
So,
takeaways.
Okay, wrapping it up.
Our takeaway, my takeaway, is that you can eat healthy and be dirt cheap, but it takes a lot of not a lot, but in the beginning it takes a lot of planning, preparation, and kind of figuring out where you want to save your money and where you want to spend your money. But you can do it.
You can do it.
You can do it.
My takeaway is simplify. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Go back to whole foods. When you go back to whole foods, not processed foods, and you're just doing those, it becomes really, really simple because you don't have so many choices, so many things to choose from.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier when you simplify.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how many people that we've had that not go off the meds, no longer need their medications, and then it's just like that frees up like $400 or $500 a month. You know?
Yeah.
So
reducing,
right.
Cutting out what you don't need.
Yeah.
Including medications.
Yeah. Drop all. No, I'm just kidding. So the goal is always to use food as medicine as much as you can, to where you just don't need to be chronically managed, and it's so much cheaper that way, and healthy.
Yeah, but cutting out wisely and with patience and wisdom.
Yeah.
So
right. Next week we are doing the next talk on
human doing.
Human doing. What does that mean?
The pathology of being busy.
Yeah. We're always human doings, but we're not human beings. Yeah. So there's a ton of research on this, and a lot of people have hormonal problems as we go through the new year, the resolution. I want to feel better. I want to have more energy. I want to be as exciting as Dr. Garrett all the time, and without using meth. And so, you want to see my meth?
Methyl B12.
All right. It's actually full of meth. So people want to have energy and sustainability and be able to just have be able to sleep and all that kind of stuff. But it's about not taking hormones, but eating for your hormones, not exhausting your hormones. And part of that is, what the hell are we doing to cause these problems? And let's just stop doing those things. So we'll talk about yoga and meditation and Tai Chi and these kind of purposefulnesses that help us cope in ways that are far more therapeutic for us.
Yeah.
So, and then what is it? The last? Okay, so that's the 24th.
That's the
24th.
24th.
And then on the 31st, we're having our shopping tour. And so again, the way you get entered for your shopping tour, so you can go and we'll go to several stores and just you can ask as many questions you want, and it'll be fun. And we had great success in the past. Just post a recipe that's healthy.
Rachel posted a recipe. Thank you, Rachel.
What'd she post?
It was a bean dip.
Bean dip.
It was.
Yeah. So that's good. That's really good. And pretty sure I liked it. So yeah, post your stuff and then we'll have you guys do a food tour and it'll be fun. And anything else? We still got to figure out what we're going to do next month.
Yep. Give us thoughts. What do you want to know about? What are your hot topic questions? Those burning questions that are in you. Let us know what those are so that we can cater to your needs.
Wants. All right.
Desires.
Okay. Thank you guys for attending, and look forward to seeing you guys in the future, and see you next week. No, don't touch that button.